My ex-fiancée said I was too boring and called off the wedding, then refused to leave my house and destroyed everything. Let me just get right into it. This whole story still feels a little unreal to me. I'm a 35-year-old guy who's put in a lot of work to get where I am in life. I've got a solid job at a big company, and I've always been the type who values stability and building a good, grounded future. I met my ex-fiancée, Amanda, at a friend's wedding about 3 years ago. She's 32 and back then, she was working as a marketing executive. From the moment we started talking, things just clicked. She was outgoing, charming, and gave off this vibe like she really had her act together. For the first 2 years, it honestly felt like something out of a romantic movie. We got along great, had similar interests, and even our friends would tease us, saying we were relationship goals. About 6 months ago, I popped the question, and she said yes. It felt like everything was finally coming together. We jumped into planning the wedding, and Amanda had already moved into my place a year before that. It wasn't some massive dream house, but it was mine, and I'd worked hard to buy it. I was excited, really looking forward to the life we were building. But then, out of nowhere, just a couple months ago, Amanda dropped a bomb on me. She told me she wanted to call off the engagement. I remember just standing there, completely stunned, while she said she felt trapped and wasn't ready for marriage. Saying I was heartbroken doesn't even come close. Still, I tried to be understanding. I asked her if we could maybe postpone the wedding, give her more time to figure things out. But she wasn't having it. Amanda was adamant she didn't want to get married. Not just to me, but not to anyone. She said she needed time to find herself, whatever that meant. It was clear she was done. And as much as it hurt, I realized there was no sense in dragging things out with someone who didn't want to be with me. The relationship was over, and I had to start facing that reality. Naturally, the next step seemed pretty obvious to me. If she didn't want to be with me anymore, then she needed to move out. I mean, the house was mine. I approached the conversation as kindly as I could, considering the situation. I gave her 30 days, thinking that'd be more than enough time for her to sort things out and find a new place. But instead of agreeing, she flat out refused. I was floored. She told me she had nowhere to go and no money saved up. That caught me completely off guard because, as far as I knew, she was doing just fine financially. We always split bills without a problem, and she earned a good income. That's when she dropped another bomb. Amanda had quit her job a few weeks earlier and never said a word about it. She admitted she'd been feeling burned out and just needed a break. As for her savings, she'd already blown through most of it on shopping sprees and impulsive trips with her friends. I was in shock. I couldn't believe she'd kept something that major from me. When I asked why she hadn't told me sooner, she didn't really have a solid answer. She just said she didn't want to stress me out and was trying to figure things out on her own. Now, somehow, she expected me to let her stay in my house indefinitely while she sorted her life out. The audacity of it was unbelievable. And as you might have guessed, things went downhill fast from there. Amanda started acting like a totally different person. She'd have her friends over constantly, turning the house into some kind of party pad. I'd come home from a long day at work to find the living room packed with people I didn't even recognize. They'd be drinking, making a mess, acting like they owned the place. When I tried to talk to Amanda about it, she brushed me off, said she needed to blow off steam and that her friends were just helping her through a tough time. But it didn't stop there. She stopped doing anything around the house, no dishes, no laundry, nothing. Clothes and dirty plates were piling up everywhere. The place was always a disaster. Living with her started feeling less like sharing a home with a partner and more like dealing with an unruly teenager. Then, one night, something happened that changed everything. She'd left her phone on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower, and it kept lighting up with messages. Normally, I'm not the kind of guy who snoops. But something just didn't sit right in my gut, and I couldn't ignore it. So I looked. And honestly, I still wish I hadn't. I opened her phone and found a string of messages between her and some guy she worked with, let's call him Eric. And these weren't friendly, casual texts. They were clearly romantic. The more I scrolled, the more obvious it became Amanda had been cheating on me with this guy for months. She'd been meeting up with him behind my back and had even been planning to leave me once she'd saved up enough money. All that time I was trying to be patient and supportive, she was sneaking around with someone else. I thought back to every moment I'd asked her if something was wrong, every effort I made to keep us on the same page. And the whole time, she was lying through her teeth. That night, I confronted her. I laid out everything I'd found, the texts, the cheating, all of it. I expected some kind of emotion from her. Regret, guilt, even just an apology. But instead, she just looked at me, totally unfazed. She didn't deny anything. In fact, she actually seemed relieved. She told me she'd been unhappy for a while, that things between us had gotten dull. She said Eric made her feel alive again and that she didn't regret any of it. I was stunned. I couldn't believe how cold and unapologetic she was about the whole thing. That was the final straw. I told her she had 48 hours to pack her stuff and leave, or I'd get the law involved. I wasn't going to be her doormat anymore. As soon as I laid down that ultimatum, something in her flipped. She blew up, screamed at me, insulted me, said everything that was wrong in her life was my fault. She accused me of being controlling, not supportive enough, and even had the nerve to say that's why she cheated. It was like she was trying to flip the whole story and paint herself as the victim. After that fight, I decided to take a closer look at our shared finances, just to make sure there weren't any other surprises waiting for me. Turns out Amanda had been hiding more than just a bad attitude. When I started going through our finances, I discovered she'd racked up a ridiculous amount of credit card debt, way more than I ever could have imagined. She had maxed out multiple cards, dropping money on luxury brands, fancy dinners, and out-of-town getaways. But the worst part? Some of those charges weren't even on her cards, they were on mine. Yep, without my permission, she'd been using my credit cards. I found purchases I didn't recognize, designer clothes, expensive meals at places I'd never been, even a weekend trip I definitely wasn't invited to. All that time she'd been acting like everything was fine, like we were still a team, while secretly living it up at my expense. I was furious. When I confronted her about the charges, she didn't even try to deny it. Just shrugged and said she figured I wouldn't notice. The sheer nerve of it blew my mind. At that point, it was painfully obvious she didn't respect me or anything we had built together. The next day, while I was at work, Amanda decided to get petty. And I mean real petty. When I walked through the door that evening, it looked like someone had broken in and gone on a rampage. Furniture overturned, graffiti smeared across the walls, and several of my valuables gone. She'd even taken family heirlooms. Stuff that wasn't just expensive, but meaningful. Things that can't ever be replaced. There were insults scrawled on the walls in what looked like permanent marker, vile, cruel things. It was like she'd done everything she could to hurt me on her way out. And it worked. I wasn't just angry, I was heartbroken. How could someone I once loved and trusted do something so calculated, so ugly? That was the last straw. I reported the theft and the damage to the police the next morning, and then I contacted a lawyer to start the formal eviction process. Amanda clearly wasn't going to leave on her own, so it was time to make it official. The lawyer helped me draw up a legal eviction notice, and I served it to Amanda later that week. She flipped out when she got it, furious, but I didn't care anymore. I was done being the nice guy. She had to go, no matter what it took. When my friends and family heard what had happened, they were stunned. Everyone had liked Amanda. No one saw this version of her coming. My parents, bless them, stepped in to help me clean up the mess. They even offered me a place to crash while I dealt with everything. It meant a lot knowing I wasn't going through it alone, even though the pain was still raw. I'd put my trust in Amanda, and she'd shattered it completely. After I handed her the eviction notice, Amanda switched tactics. Suddenly, she was all apologies and tears, begging me to reconsider. She claimed she'd made a mistake, said she wanted to fix things, and started bringing up memories of all the good times we'd shared, trying to convince me we could get back to that place. But I wasn't falling for it. I knew she didn't want to be with me, she just didn't want to be homeless. And when she saw that her guilt trip wasn't working, she tried something darker. She threatened to ruin me. Said that if I pushed through with the eviction, she'd tell our friends, and even people at my job, that I'd been abusive. She claimed she'd say I'd hurt her emotionally and physically. Basically, she was threatening to drag my name through the mud and make sure nobody believed my side of the story. It was insane. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was willing to stoop that low just to keep squatting in my house. At that point, I realized I didn't know this woman at all. But I wasn't backing down. I had proof. Messages, receipts, photos. If she wanted a battle, I was ready. The day of the eviction finally rolled around. I'd already spoken with the police, and they agreed to be there in case things got out of hand. When we got to the house, Amanda was still inside. She had locked herself in the master bedroom and flat out refused to come out. I couldn't believe how far she was willing to take this. The cops knocked on the door and told her she needed to leave. That's when she really lost it. She started screaming, crying, threatening to hurt herself if they made her leave. It was chaos. Total nightmare fuel. The police had to bring in a mental health specialist to evaluate the situation. After a while, they managed to convince her to come out. She was still yelling and crying as they escorted her out, but at least finally she was gone. Once she was out, I changed all the locks and installed a full security system. I wasn't about to take any more chances. The house was a wreck, and fixing it up was going to take time, but I was ready to start the process. Seeing my home in that condition was heartbreaking. But I rolled up my sleeves, grabbed a garbage bag, and started tackling the mess. With the help of my family and friends, we began putting things back together, throwing out what she destroyed, fixing what could be saved. It was a slow climb, but I got the house back in shape. Still, the emotional mess she left behind was harder to clean up. After Amanda was out, I pursued legal action for the theft and the property damage. The police already had everything they needed, and my lawyer felt confident we had a solid case. In the end, the court ordered Amanda to pay restitution for the items she stole and the damage she caused. I also filed for and was granted a restraining order. I didn't want her anywhere near me again. I needed a clean break, a fresh start. Looking back now, I realized there were signs I missed, things I brushed off or made excuses for. Amanda had always liked to spend money, but I never thought she'd take it this far, to the point of using my credit cards without me knowing. I probably should have seen it coming, but at the same time, none of this would have happened if she'd just been honest with me. Instead, she chose secrets and manipulation. This whole experience has been a huge wake-up call. One I wish I never needed, but one I won't forget. If there's one thing this whole mess has taught me, it's that trust isn't something you hand out freely, it has to be earned. I've realized I need to be more cautious about who I let into my life, especially into my home and heart. Right now, I'm focused on healing, figuring out who I am again, and growing from all of this. I've even been toying with the idea of selling my house and starting over somewhere new. I haven't made any big decisions yet, but a fresh start doesn't sound too bad. So here I am, sharing my story with all of you. Thanks for sticking with me through this long, chaotic ride, I genuinely appreciate it. And hey, to end on a lighter note, if anyone knows where to buy a sturdy, Amanda-proof security system, shoot me a message. So, am I the jerk for kicking my ex-fiancée out after she ended our engagement and refused to leave my house? Update 1. Hey everyone, it's been about a month since my last post, and I wish I could say things had finally settled down. Unfortunately, they haven't. After Amanda was officially evicted, I truly thought that would be the end of it. I mean, she vandalized my house, stole from me, and I even had to get a restraining order. But apparently, none of that made a difference to her. About 2 weeks ago, weird stuff started happening around my house. At first, it was little things, someone ringing my doorbell in the middle of the night, then running off. Trash cans knocked over every morning. I tried to tell myself it was just some neighborhood kids messing around. Then one night, I got home from a late shift and found something that made my blood run cold, a note taped to my front door that simply said, "You're not safe." I recognized the handwriting instantly. It was Amanda's. I called the police right away and turned in the note. They took it seriously, but there wasn't much they could do in the moment. They advised me to keep all my cameras rolling and document everything. They also promised extra patrols in my area, but let's be honest, they can't be everywhere at once. The next day, I got a call from my security company. Someone had tried to break into my house. When I reviewed the footage, there she was, Amanda, trying to pick the lock in the middle of the night. And when she realized she was being recorded, she looked straight at the camera and smiled. I handed the footage over to the police, and they arrested her again for violating the restraining order. But like before, she was released on bail the very next day. It's like no matter what I do, she finds a way to stay one step ahead. My lawyer advised me to pursue a permanent restraining order, and we've started that process. But it takes time. Meanwhile, I feel like I'm living in some twisted psychological thriller, constantly looking over my shoulder. I don't know how to make her stop. If anyone's been through something like this, if you've got advice, I'm all ears. I'm honestly scared of what she might do next. Update 2. Back again with more bad news. I wish I could say things got better, but they didn't. In fact, Amanda found a new way to hit me where it really hurts, my job. I'm a software developer, and my career has always been a big part of my identity. Through all this chaos, work was the one thing that helped me stay grounded. But about 3 weeks ago, my boss called me into his office with a serious look on his face. He handed me a stack of printouts, emails supposedly sent from me. These weren't just unprofessional, they were disgusting. Racist, sexist, threatening emails directed at people I worked with. Some of the messages even included names of specific coworkers. I was floored. I knew right away they were fake, but the emails had come from an address that looked almost identical to mine, just a single letter off. I explained the whole situation to my boss, how Amanda had been harassing me, breaking into my house, violating the restraining order. Thankfully, he believed me. We've always had a good relationship, and he knew that stuff didn't reflect who I am. Still, word got out around the office. I could feel the change, people acting distant, whispering when I walked by. I caught a few coworkers talking about me in the break room, wondering if the rumors were true. It was humiliating. I worked with our IT department and they were able to trace the fake emails back to an IP address that wasn't mine. They confirmed someone had been impersonating me. I handed all the evidence to the police, and while they're building a case, they told me the same thing they always do: these things take time. I've thought about quitting and finding a remote job just to escape all this, but part of me feels like that would mean Amanda wins. I don't want to give her that satisfaction. I'm stuck. And honestly, I don't know what to do anymore. If anyone's dealt with something like this, false accusations, digital harassment, I'd appreciate any advice you can offer. Update 3, Final. Hey folks, this will be my final update. It's been 4 months since I first shared my story, and I think I've finally reached the end of this nightmare, but not without one last chapter. After my last update, I was constantly on edge, always waiting for Amanda's next move. She was still out on bail, and given everything she'd already done, I figured it was only a matter of time before she struck again. I was right. About a month ago, I left work late and found all 4 tires on my car completely slashed. Just sitting there in the parking lot, shredded. I didn't need to guess who did it, I knew. I checked the security footage, and sure enough, there she was, Amanda, slashing my tires and walking off like it was just another day. I called the police again and finally they took it seriously. This time, my lawyer and I pushed hard for her to be held without bail, and thankfully, the judge agreed. Amanda was arrested that night and remained in custody. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. But the damage had already been done. My reputation had taken a hit. My car was in the shop. I was drained physically, emotionally, mentally. I've been meeting with my lawyer more regularly, and he's helping me take the next steps. We're suing Amanda for all the damage, both to my property and to my name. We're also pushing hard for a permanent restraining order to keep her out of my life for good. In the meantime, I've made a big decision. I'm selling my house and getting out of this city. I love my job, but I've asked about transferring to another office or possibly switching to a remote role altogether. I need a clean slate. A fresh start. Somewhere new where I can finally put all of this behind me. So I guess this is goodbye, at least for now. To everyone who offered advice, support, or just a few kind words along the way, thank you. I honestly don't know how I would have gotten through all of this without you. I'm hopeful that this really is the end of Amanda's chaos in my life. From here on out, I'm focused on rebuilding, healing, and finding peace. Thanks again. Take care of yourselves and trust your instincts. Always.